Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde.
Vrindaya Tulsi Devai Vrindaya Tulsi Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachana. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Yamunatira Anachari Yamunatira Anachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanidhari Vallabha Girivanidhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanidhari Yasodanandana Vrajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavacharya Satarya Srimada's Divine Grace H.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki I got one of those devices in the key. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki. ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mayapur Dham Ki. Navadvip Dham Ki. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Tulsi Devi Ki. Bhakta Devi Ki. Shri Radha Golokananda Ki. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Gora Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So today is the appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. So we're going to discuss him today. And a lot of it comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat and, a number of different associates, And, of course, he's one of the Panchatattva, one of the five, the devotee. And so he had a lifelong associate of Lord Chaitanya, childhood friend, went to school together, grew up together, followed him when he got sannyas, followed him to Jagannath Puri. We'll go over these things. Of course, he didn't go with him, went to South India, but eventually took a vow he wasn't going to leave Jagannath Puri. That's kind of interesting how he would have, what actually was the impetus initially. I guess for Lord Chaitanya was going to be there, he was not ever going to leave. But then when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, he wanted to go with him. even at the expense of, breaking his vow. But somehow Lord Chaitanya he technically did kind of go outside the district, but then Lord Chaitanya was able to convince him to go back. So in one sense, he broke his vow because of his attachment to Lord Chaitanya, because the rules and regulations are a means to get us to the love of Godhead. They're not the end of the means. They're not what we hope to accomplish, as our goal. Because we're willing to break any rule or regulation when it comes to serving the Lord in an honest endeavor. So this is no more exemplified but then by the gopis. Okay, so I am going to begin here. Omaganda Timaranda Shaganajana Shalakaya Chakra Omlitomnina Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Actually, it's not a whole lot, but we'll go through it all. The incarnation of love, who was previously the queen of Vrindavan, Radha, is now the beloved Gora named Srila Gadadhar Pandit. Swarup Damodar himself indicated that Gadadhar was Vraja's goddess of fortune, the Lakshmi, who was previously the beloved of Shyamasundar in Vrindavan. She has now become the goddess of fortune and love for Gora, and is known as Srila Gadadhar Pandit. Lalita, who is also known as Anuradha, is Radha's closest friend and confidant. She has entered into Gadadhar, as was shown in the play Chaitanya Chandrodya Gora Ganadesh Deepika. So he's Jaganananda is another. He took the form of Radharani's bhava. Of course, Jaganananda also was considered same as Radharani, but he was also more considered the dismissive. He wasn't more surrendered, even though he was in love with Lord Chaitanya. He would get angry with Lord Chaitanya, Jaganananda. He was also a friend, grew up with Lord Chaitanya from Navadvip. He grew up, a childhood friend, went to go to see Lord Chaitanya. One time he gave him some oil. Remember these pastimes, and then Lord Chaitanya rejected. He was a sannyasi. What's he going to do with this, very expensive oil they got? But he wanted him to give it. The devotees from Navadvip worship Lord Chaitanya as Nimai. They grew up with him. This is what their attachment is. They were not happy about the sannyas, even though there was a respect. Their love for, their relationship with Lord Chaitanya was as Nimai. So this is what they wanted to continue with that. Of course, the devotees who met him later all worship him in on reverence as Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya rejected that gift, so he just broke the jar of that oil, that scented oil. I'm trying to think what type of oil it was. It's a type of perfume, but it was sandalwood. Was it sandalwood? Anyway, very expensive, and he busted it, he threw it down and broke it, and then he was fasting. And of course, Lord Chaitanya was a little bit afraid at the times, because he knew that when he disagreed with him, he would fast, and he was very affectionate to Jagannath. But we're not going to discuss that today, even though he did. So Gadadhar Tattva, Gadadhar, Pandit, and others. So basically it was like both these features associated with Lord Chaitanya of Radharani. These are two different, they both represented different forms, different moods of Radharani. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is the combined form of Radharani and Krishna. So Gadadhar Pandit and others are the Lord's own energies. I pay thousands of obeisances to their lotus feet. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's Adi Lita, chapter 1, text 41. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears in 6 features, namely as 2 types of guru, the devotees of the Lord, and the Lord himself. The incarnation, his expansion, and his energy according to the principle of simultaneously oneness and difference. They are all identified with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. That's from the Anubhasha to Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's Adi Leela, chapter 1, text 37 through 45. Anubhasha is the commentary by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. She whose Radha and Krishna's pastimes became Sri Gadadhar Pandit Goswami in Gaura Leela. When Gaura manifests his identity with Narayan, his Sakhis are his wives, Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya. When identifying with Krishna, his Shakti is Gadadhar Pandit Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Krishna, who appears in 5 features: as a devotee, as an expansion of a devotee, as an incarnation of a devotee, as the pure devotee, and as a devotee, devotional energy. So that's the Panchatattva. We see the 4 features. That's what they're referring to here, those 5 features. These 5 features all appeared with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his incarnation. And in their association, he joyfully performed the congregational chanting of the holy names. Though he appears in these 5 forms, there is in fact no difference between them. The distinctions arise due to his desire to relish different devotional flavors. Shri, Gaura, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas, etc., make up the Panchatattva, and there is spiritually no difference between them. The Supreme Truth has unlimited different pastimes in order to relish the different taste of transcendental relationship, and thus he separates into these 5 forms as the devotee, the devotional manifestation, the devotional incarnation, the devotional energy, and the pure devotee. All glories to the life of Nityananda and Gadadhar. All glories to the shelter of all the devotees headed by Advaita. Excuse me, because my allergies are. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur comments on words, the life of Gadadhar, as follows. Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami is the chief amongst the most intimate devotees of Lord Chaitanya. He is the fountainhead of the entire Shakti Tattva and is thus presently equal in Mahaprabhu's Leelas in Navadvip and in Nilachala. His childhood home was in Navadvip. Later, when he took sannyas, he went to live in Jagannath Puri in a garden or tota by the seashore. Pure devotees who wish to enter into worship of Radha and Govinda in the Madhurya Rasa take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit and are known as Gaura Mahaprabhu's intimate devotees. Those devotees who are not so inclined to take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu and engaged in those devotees who are not so inclined take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu and engage in pure devotional service according to his mood. Some of Mahaprabhu's devotees, such as Narahari, were followers of Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami. They took refuge in him because they knew him to be Mahaprabhu's dearest associate and thus worthy of their service. Some devotees, therefore, call Chaitanya the life of Nityananda, while others call him the life of Gadadhar. So that was Bhaktisiddhanta's purport. I mean, we just read about Vallabha Bhatt, but we're reading where Lord Chaitanya is instructing Rupa Goswami, and why he was there in Varanasi. Vallabha Bhatt came there. He's very much older, but very, very intelligent, and is considered a scholar when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam. And then so later in Adi Leela, we're going to read again about Vallabha Bhatt, where he comes to Jagannath Puri. And he's a little bit puffed up because of his extreme intelligence, very intelligent individual, Bhattacharya. And so he wrote a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. But he thought his commentary was greater than Sridhar Swami's commentary. So he was thinking in this way. But Lord Chaitanya was not happy about, his old demeanor and attitude. We know that Lord Chaitanya, humility is the process by which we make advancement, not being proud or puffed up by anything we do or our achievements. But he worshiped Gopal Krishna in the mood of Krishna as a childhood. He had that mantra, and we get those particular mantras. We're hearing about these different rasas now, and as we're reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when you get to these very advanced stages and you've met a Rasika devotee, you will get a mantra to worship, like it will be added to your Gayatri mantra, or you just chant that mantra to a particular form of the Lord, either in Vatsalya, Sakya, Madhurya. But when he was in this mood, he became friends with Gadadhar. He really liked Gadadhar. He's attracted to Gadadhar. And we've just kind of read here how some people are followers of Gadadhar. They really, But Gadadhar was in the mood of Radharani, and so he worshiped Lord in the mood of a gopi. So, but he was afraid of Vallabhabhat's association because he knew that Lord Chaitanya was not happy with Vallabhabhat. And so therefore, he didn't want to hang out too much with Vallabhabhat because he didn't want Lord Chaitanya to be angry with me. And I think we can kind of get that, kind of realize that in the sense, if you really like somebody, you're not that, and you know that person's not happy with somebody, you're not going to displease that person by hanging out with that person. But eventually, Vallabhabhat kind of, okay, he got it. Okay, I'm a little bit puffed up. Lord Chaitanya, as mercifully did, showed him the error of his ways, so to speak. And so once he did that, Lord Chaitanya then was kind of like, okay, you can hang out with Gadadhar Pandit. But what he wanted from Gadadhar Pandit was the mantra to worship Krishna, not in Gopal Krishna, but he wanted to worship Krishna as Kishore, that young boy in the groves of Vrindavan. And Gadadhar Pandit had that mantra. So he wanted to surrender to Gadadhar. And then Lord Chaitanya gave him the blessing to do that. So that's an example of what, actual example here in this last paragraph we're talking about how Gadadhar was in the Madhurya Ras. Okay, so Gadadhar's early life. Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was born in the village of Beleti in the Chittagong district of modern Bangladesh in 1408 of the Saka era, 1486, on the dark moon day of the month of Vishaka. His father was Madhava Mishra, a Vrinda Brahmin in the Kashyapa Gotra, and his mother was Ratnavati Devi. He also had a younger brother named Baninath. The family remained in Beleti Gram until Gadadhar was 12 and then moved to Navadvip. Gadadhar Pandit was a brahmachari for his entire life. Indeed, his indifference to the pleasures of the world was such that Ishwara Puripad was very impressed when he visited Navadvip. Ishwara Puri gave Gadadhar instruction in a book he had himself written, Krishna Lilamrita. He also asked Lord Chaitanya, or Nimai at the time, to look at that book, because he knew Nimai was a great Pandit. And he was probably, nobody understood grammar better than Nimai Pandit. But initially, Nimai Pandit refused to review his book. He said that anybody that could find any fault in the work of a Vaishnava is just a sinner. It's just not, he didn't want to put, but he kind of pushed him to do it, and then of course he agreed. He invited him over to his house for lunch, Ishwar Puri. He didn't actually, this was, Ishwar Puri actually came to Navadvip in disguise. And I don't quite understand what that disguise might have been, but he didn't want to be seen as a Vaishnava or something. I don't know what, incognito. But Lord Chaitanya saw him and immediately knew him. Advaitacharya met him and knew him because he was his god brother. So they're both initiated from Madhavendra Puri. So Lord Chaitanya did agree to review this book, and then he said there's one little correction he suggested. But then Ishwar Puri thought about it, that one little correction, but then said, well, I'll just leave it like it is. He didn't want to change it, you know. But Lord Chaitanya said that even if it's imperfect, it's still perfect. Even though, even if there might be what appearance of some slight imperfection, it's still perfect. So it's an offense to find the fault. Okay, so we'll continue. While Mahaprabhu was delighting in the pastimes as a student, there was no scholar in the entire town of Navadvip who was unafraid of entering into debate with him. Mahaprabhu would defeat one's position and then show how the same position could be defended. Mukunda, Srivas, and others who knew the joys of devotional sentiment were afraid of getting involved with such useless debates with Nimai Pandit. And so they would avoid him. One day Nimai Pandit saw Gadadhar and asked him to give the definition of liberation. Gadadhar answered according to the Nyaya philosophy that liberation consisted in the final and absolute eradication of all miseries. Nimai then proceeded to show how this definition was inadequate. The other devotees listening to him speak, thought how wonderful it would be if such a brilliant scholar would become a devotee. This is how the Vaishnavas thought. And if you could just make this one person a devotee, sometimes we might have experienced that and we've seen somebody. If that person could just become a devotee, how he can help the movement. When Mahaprabhu returned from Gaya, he began to reveal the amazing transformations of divine love. Srimad Pandit was the first to see Mahaprabhu's ecstatic symptoms, and he reported what he had seen to all the other devotees, who were overjoyed at the news. When Mahaprabhu decided to reveal his true identity to the devotees, he told them to come to the house of Suklambara Brahmacharya. Gadadhar was amongst those who went there, but remained discreet about his presence until he saw Mahaprabhu become intoxicated with the power of the holy names. Gadadhar himself was overcome by the ecstatic emotions known as Sattvikas and fainted. Mahaprabhu then said to him, Gadadhar, you have such good fortune. From your early childhood, your mind has been fixed on Krishna's lotus feet, while I have been wasting my life in useless activities. Despite chanting the great treasure of human birth, despite obtaining the great treasure of a human birth, my misfortune, I was able to make no use of it. That's from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, that's text 98 and 99. Subsequently, Gadadhar would calm Mahaprabhu whenever he was overly affected by his ecstasies. One day, Mahaprabhu was crying out of separation, "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna?" Gadadhar said to him, "Your Lord Krishna is hidden in your heart." As soon as he heard this, Mahaprabhu began to claw his chest. But luckily, Gadadhar was able to stop him by holding his hands. He then pacified him by saying, "Krishna will come to you shortly. Be patient." When Sachi saw how clever Gadadhar was in handling her son, she asked him to always stay near Nimai to protect him. That is also from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Madhya Lila, chapter 2, text 198 to 210. Lord Chaitanya, when he made this transformation, when he went to Gora, he got initiated, and he also described when he came back, and I saw Krishna, but he left me. He immediately had this mood of separation when he got initiated. Immediately he went to that mood of separation, from ruchi to taste to shakti. And so he wanted to go to Vrindavan right away. But then again, here's this other voice. We had the class the other day, and Balaram heard this voice, Rukmi's cheating you, So here he is, another voice telling the Lord Chaitanya, no, you should go back to Navadvip. It's not ready for you to go. So these divine interventions, there's a number of these in Srimad Bhagavatam, these literature. So he had this divine intervention that sent him back. So he comes back in this mood. And so he had this, we just read this thing with Lord Chaitanya. He was able to communicate with him in such a loving, exchanging way. So now Gadadhar takes initiation. Once Mahaprabhu suddenly started calling out the name of his dear associate, Pundarik Vijayanidhi, saying, Pundarik, my father, and crying. None of these devotees present knew Pundarik, who was formerly Radharani's father, Vrishabhanu, and were thus unable to understand what the Lord meant. When they asked him, he glorified Pundarik Vijayanidhi and told them that he would shortly come to Navadvip, Mayapur. However, when Pundarik arrived in Navadvip, no one recognized him. Let's see. Because he disguised himself as a great sense enjoyer in order to mask his profound devotional feeling. Maybe that was Ishwar Puri's. He also came, as I mentioned, in disguise. Mukunda Dutt was a former resident of Chittagong and knew Pundarik very well. One day he told Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami that he wanted to introduce him to a very advanced Vaishnava and took him to Pundarik's house. Mukunda introduced the two of them, and Vijayanidhi happily engaged Gadadhar in conversation. Gadadhar, however, had been indifferent to sensual pleasures since he was very young and could not help doubting Pundarik Vijayanidhi when he saw the expensive furnishings by which he was surrounded. From fine silk sheets as white as milk foam and perfumes in the air to the pan he was chewing, Mukunda saw the doubt written in Gadadhar's face and decided to reveal Pundarik's true devotional nature to him. He recited a verse in glorification of Krishna from the Bhagavatam. How truly amazing! The sister of Bakasura, the evil Putana, was sent on a mission to kill Krishna. Despite her evil intentions, she drank the Kalakuta poison that was mixed with her breast milk and awarded her the position of a wet nurse as Ambika Kilamba in Goloka. Is there anyone else I can take shelter of who is more merciful than this Krishna? That's the third canto, chapter 2, text 23. The instant that Pundarik Vijayanidhi heard this verse, he began to cry, "Ah, Krishna!" and fell to the ground in a faint. Extraordinarily ecstatic symptoms began to show in his body. Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was amazing to see the reaction and began to regret his offense. Regret the offensive thoughts he had been having just moments before. Later, Mahaprabhu advised Gadadhar that the best way to become free of this offense was to ask Pundarik Vijayanidhi for initiation. So this was how Gadadhar became his disciple. So the Lord's constant companion. Sri Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was Mahaprabhu's constant companion. He participated in Mahaprabhu's water sports after the conversion of Jagai and Madhai. He acted in the play about Krishna's Leela in Chandrasekhar's house. He observed the great empathy, Mahaprakash, and Srivas Anga. That's 21 hours of ecstatic symptoms by Lord Chaitanya. That's what that is talking about there in Srivas, where Lord Chaitanya revealed himself to all the different devotees. He did it already to different devotees. He revealed himself, but he would lose external consciousness. You know, when Srivas Thakur, he revealed his forms to him. But in this instance, described that he remained his consciousness. He did not go any kind of samadhi or lose external consciousness. Times he would, and they would bring him back to consciousness. So that went on for 24 hours. There's a lot of famous pastimes in that, event. Kolavecha Shriyar was brought there, Mukunda, all these different really. He was there when the Kazi was converted and when Mahaprabhu took sannyas. He accompanied Mahaprabhu to Puri, where he joined him in cleaning the Goloka temple, bathing in Narendra Saroya, and so many other pastimes. At Chandrasekhar's house, in the first act of the play about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, that Mahaprabhu staged, Haridas played the part of a village constable, Srivas Panta played Narada Muni, and Mahaprabhu Rukmini. In the second half, Gadadhar also dressed as a woman, at which time Mahaprabhu said, Gadadhar is part of my Vaikuntha family. Afterward, Mahaprabhu dressed as the primary energy and gave joy to everyone in the form of the Mother of the Universe. The devotees too glorified him with hymns addressed to the Divine Mother. Now, Gadadhar's sannyas. Sri Gadadhar Pandit Goswami went to live in Puri as a Kshetra sannyasi. Mahaprabhu gave him the service of the Toti Gopinath deity and told him to live in Yameshwar Tota, or gardening adjoining the Yameshwara Shiva temple. On one occasion, when Gadadhar heard that Nityananda had come to Puri, he invited him to come and take Tota Gopinath's prasad. Nityananda accepted his invitation and brought some fine rice from Bengal as an offering for Gopinath. Gadadhar cooked the rice along with the leaves and vegetables from the Yameshwara garden. When he was offering the foodstuff to the deity, Mahaprabhu also appeared there, giving him great pleasure. The three of them joyfully took prasad together. That's also from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Anchalita, chapter 10. When Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya used all the means at their disposal to make him stay in Puri. On the third Chaturmasha after his departure from Navadvip, all the Bengali devotees came to Puri with their wives to see him. After the Goloka temple cleansing and the Rath Yatra, the devotees returned. As they were leaving, the devotees from Kulia village asked Mahaprabhu to describe the characteristics of a devotee. Mahaprabhu then described the differences between a Vaishnav, a more advanced Vaishnav, and the most advanced Vaishnav. That's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's Madhya Lila, chapter 16, 69 through 75. When Mahaprabhu showed even more determination to go to Vrindavan, the devotees finally gave him permission to leave after Vijaya Dasmani. That's how they loved. He was such in love with his devotees that he wouldn't even go without their permission. That's how the Lord is controlled by love. He was controlled by their love. King Pataparuja gave a great deal of official help to smooth his journey. When Mahaprabhu crossed the Chitrapala River to leave Puri, Roy Ramananda Maharaj and Harish Chanda continued on in his company. Because of his Kshetra sannyas, Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was not permitted to go any further. He was unable to tolerate the idea of separation from the Lord. However, and wanted to continue on with him, Mahaprabhu had to remind him of his vow to remain at Jagannath Puri and forbade him to go on to Vraja. Gadadhar retorted, "To hell with my vows to remain in Puri. As far as I'm concerned, Jagannath Puri is wherever you are." Mahaprabhu insisted and told Gadadhar not to abandon his service to Gopinath. Gadadhar stubbornly argued, "Just see your lotus feet is worth 1,000,000 times more than any service to Gopinath." Mahaprabhu said, "If you abandon your duties to Gopinath, then it will be considered my fault." It's a great rationale how you can, I'm going to suffer because of what you do. This is how you can deal with his pure devotees. Gadadhar said, "No, I will take all the responsibility for any offense to Gopinath. I am going alone, not with you. I am going to Bengal to see Sachi Mata, and not for your sake." So Mahaprabhu continued on his way north to meet the Jharikanda path, which he intended to take to Vrindavan, while Gadadhar trailed behind, walking alone. Other than Mahaprabhu's intimate associates, no one was able to understand the extent of Gadadhar Prabhu's rebellious devotion to Gauranga. Love on the path of spontaneous devotion is not easy to comprehend. Gadadhar was ready to abandon his vows, his service, everything for the sake of Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu's party arrived at Chutak, 100 kilometers north of Puri, Mahaprabhu called Gadadhar and said, "You have realized your objective to break your vows and leave your service. If you come with me, that will make you happy. But do you want your own happiness or mine? It will make me unhappy if your vows to remain in Puri or serve Gopinath are broken. If you want my happiness, return to Puri. Take up your vows again. That is all I have to say." When he heard Mahaprabhu's word, Gadadhar fell to the ground and fainted. Mahaprabhu told Swarvabhoma Bhattacharya to comfort him and accompany him back to Puri. He himself then continued to Vrindavan on his own. Let me read maybe one more. It's almost done. Due to their imitable simplicity, Krishna's wife Rukmini was not always able to understand his joking words and would become frightened. Like her, Gadadhar was also unable to understand Mahaprabhu's witticisms or his feigned indifference, all of which would cause him anxiety. Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was by nature simple and affectionate. On one occasion, Vallabha came to see Mahaprabhu and engaged him in jocular conversation. When Mahaprabhu saw that Vallabha was proud of his scholarship, however, he became somewhat distant from him and started to find flaws in everything that he said. Vallabha responded to Mahaprabhu's indifference by starting to visit Gadadhar and making a show of attachment to him. Mahaprabhu did not particularly care for Gadadhar's relationship with Vallabha and began to demonstrate a certain coolness toward him. This behavior gave Gadadhar fear that Mahaprabhu would ostracize him. So he came and fell at the Lord's feet and started to cry. Mahaprabhu laughed and embraced Gadadhar. He said, I wanted to tease you, but you are not flustered. You said nothing in anger, but patiently bore everything in your mind. Your mind was not agitated by my tricks. By remaining fixed in your simple nature, you have purchased me. No one can fully describe the nature of Gadadhar's ecstatic love. Mahaprabhu has thus given the name Gadadhar, Prananath, Gadadhar's life and soul. No one can describe the Lord's mercy toward Gadadhar. Thus, people sing their names together. Gadai Goranga, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 7, texts 157 through 160. Gadadhar Pandit remained on this earth for only 11 months after Mahaprabhu's disappearance. In the Bhakti-Ratnakara, Narahari Chakravarti has described the terrible suffering of Gadadhar and Mahaprabhu's separation. He remained alive only in order to be able to see Srivas Acharya. Okay. Gadadhar Pandit disappeared at Puri on the dark moon day of Jaishra. That's 1535 A.D. Jai. Jada Gauranga.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachadi Satarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachade Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Giri Govardhan 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva.
Earth Day Festival today in Durham at Durham Central Park. It's going to go on from 12 to 5, and Harinam Sankirtan will be there between 1 and 3. So please come out. It's a beautiful spring day, nice and cool and sunny. And thank you to Champakalata Mataji for dressing the deities in a beautiful Valentine Day mood. Or Gadadhar's Radha's love, yes. So today is a beautiful festival of flowers in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Chaitadarpanam Arjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etad Vakripa Bhagavan Dordaiva Midvishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Nadanam Sundarim Kavitamava Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadushim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishti Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ajalisha Vapadamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vidatulam Mat Prananastastu Saevanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can living being. Thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself low in the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more, tears flowing like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world, perhaps as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shastastika Ki Jai.